had myself muted for a minute there. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Hi. Got to get in the right scene, too. Oh, my goodness. We have a show for you guys today. Conservative liberalism says, are we there yet? We're there yet. We're starting a little early because, well, usually I go on the starting soon screen. Okay, just to give you guys some behind the scenes kind of idea of why Whick does what Whick does. Like, I'll put on a starting soon screen. And it's not just to let you guys just come on in while I prep, right? I'm usually doing it because I'm waiting on guests. Guests haven't gotten here yet. They haven't arrived, and I want to test their audio and stuff when they do get here without you guys having to listen to all that, okay? Right? Nothing more annoying than tech support live on stream. So that's what I usually do, is I usually go on the starting soon screen for about 5 minutes, maybe 10. Really depends on my mood and when people get here. But it's become a habit so much that I start to do it even when I don't have guests. Like tonight. Tonight's just going to be me, gang. I don't, unless someone bullies their way on or something. It's just Whick covering Whick stuff, okay? Wiki thoughts, wiki ideas, wiki principles, wiki propositions. Okay, all that. That's what we're doing today. We got a lot to cover, okay? Lethy Waterkai, nice to see you. Why do Whick do what Whick do? Sometimes even I don't know, brother. Sometimes I don't know. But we do it nonetheless. We get there and we get what we need done. Conservative liberalism says, I just assume you're busy playing with that transformer behind you. Yes, that's what I'm doing all the time. Just playing with toys constantly. Like I play with your hearts, ladies and gentlemen. Pumpkin King says, might just be me, but the mic seems a bit more quiet than normal. I haven't adjusted it. Is it? Hello? Can you guys just not hear me? Am I not? Is anyone else having this audio problem? If you guys are, I can adjust it or try to. Conservative liberalism says I'm fine. Are you just gaslighting me? Sometimes I feel gaslit by this, right? Like, everyone will be thinking it's fine, then one person will be like, your audio's messing up, and I'll get worried because sometimes it does. And but everyone else is like, no, it's good. So one of you guys are lying. That's all I got to say. One of you are lying to me. I don't know which one. But the stats look normal. I haven't changed any settings. I haven't made any updates that I'm aware of, so who knows. Whick sounds like RFK Jr. No. And we're about to hear RFK Jr., okay? His speech. We're not going to go through the whole thing. He was on stage for about an hour and a half. So we're not going to watch all that, okay? I have the timestamp for when he endorses Trump or says he supports Trump, and we're going to listen to a little bit of what he has to say. And then we're going to talk about it a little bit. But that's not all we're going to talk about tonight. That is one of the things that we're going to discuss. What does his dropping out of the race mean for the state of the race? We had a show on the state of the race on Wednesday, and we kind of had foreshadowing of this event that he was going to drop and he was expected to endorse Trump. And we're going to talk about what, if anything, that means. Does it change the state of play? Why or why not? It'll be a discussion. I have some thoughts. We're also going to cover some of the highlights, in my opinion, of the DNC. Did you guys watch Kamala's speech last night? You guys check it out? I didn't see it live. I watched it afterwards. I thought it was a pretty good speech. I give it a solid B+, right? It wasn't the best of the DNC. And to be clear, I didn't listen to all the DNC, right? I only listened to the keynote speakers mostly, and I caught clips here and there. I think that Obama gave the best speech of the convention, though. Again, Kamala's speech was great, and gang, what even makes it greater is how offended people have gotten at some of her lines. One of her lines that we're going to talk about is how she says she wants America's military to be the most lethal in the world. A lot of people are, well, maybe not a lot, but I've seen some people on the left say that makes her a fascist, that was a fascistic statement. Hasan, right? You guys know who Hasan is. He poo-pooed the speech, called it bad, right? And we're going to read some of his takes here too, and we'll get into that. At what point did having a military that is the best in the world become a fascistic thing? We want that. Even a communist regime or a social, what is it? A market socialist regime, any kind of regime, no matter what ideology you have, right? You want a military that is capable of defending itself from all comers. That's all it is. If you want to be free as a nation, you have to be able to enforce that freedom. You have to be able to protect that freedom. And that's what the military does. And the way it does it, ladies and gentlemen, one of the ways it does it is by eliminating the enemies and threats to the nation, right? If terrorists come and try to attack us, we stop them. How do you think that happens? With lethal force, ladies and gentlemen, with lethal force. There's nothing fascistic about that. That's crazy. Why are you guys being crazy? Don't be crazy. History and Heritage says the speechwriter was good. Fair enough. Night of Day says, I thought Whick just rolled a D20 and looks on a table, then decides what to do. You know what? That would offshore a lot of the thinking that I have to do. So it might be a helpful way to proceed, and it could lead to some shenanigans depending on the table I was rolling on. But no, it's a pretty good way of doing it. Lethy Waterkai says, our military hand-me-downs, I'm assuming you mean, have been enough to give Russia a swirly. Yeah. Well, we got to talk about Ukraine too. Gang, Ukraine might just win this. Like, when the war first started, I was very concerned that they were going to be just overwhelmed. I assumed Russia was stronger militarily. I think everyone did, right? I think almost everyone assumed Russia's military would just roll over Ukraine and just take them out. I was wrong. That wasn't true. Ukraine has put up a hell of a fight, but still, in the back of my mind, I've been thinking, oh, well, you know what? I don't know. It's a 50-50 thing. Are they going to be able to hold on? I don't really know. It's a hell of a fight. I don't know how much longer they can last. But gang, here they are invading Russia right now. They're inside Kursk. I'm going to mispronounce the name. And they're in Russian territory right now, and Russia can't do shit to stop them. So they might just win outright. Like, what are they doing? What is their strategic goal there? I don't actually know. I'm not sure. I can guess, but it would simply be guessing. I don't have access to their overall strategic objectives with the attack. But they're going with it. $5 from Joseph Galareo. Whick is clearly botting. Over 20 viewers, but 3 likes. Please explain this. All Whick fans would like this stream. I don't know why I get that ratio, right? And I don't know how other people's ratios are, right, when it comes to these things. But, like, I'll have even videos with thousands of views, and they'll have, like, 50 likes. Then again, I don't know. I'm looking at the RFK Jr. stream, and he has 244,000 views, and he has 20,000 likes. So maybe that's just the ratio that people get, like a 10-to-1 type of thing. It just might be normal YouTube metrics. I'm not sure. 5 likes now. Thank you, Firechild. Nice to see you. Nice to see you. Let's get into it though, because we got a lot to cover, and I do want to end the stream at some point. But like I said, it's an hour-and-a-half speech. We're not going to listen to the whole thing, but I do have a timestamp for when he says he's going to support Trump. I've tried to make it a little beforehand. I might need to adjust it. Forgive me if I do. Let me know if there's a volume issue or you can't hear it, but here we go.
Calamity. The chronic disease crisis was one of the primary reasons for my running for president, along with ending censorship in the Ukraine war. It's the reason I've made the heart wrenching decision to suspend my campaign and to support President Trump. This decision is agonizing for me because of the difficulties it causes my wife and my children and my friends. But I have the certainty that this is what I've meant to do. And that certainty gives me internal peace, even in storms. If I'm given the chance to fix the chronic disease crisis and reform our food production, I promise that within 2 years, we will watch chronic disease burden lift dramatically. We will make Americans healthy again. Within 4 years, America will be a healthy country. We will be stronger, more resilient, more optimistic, and happier. I won't fail in doing this.
Okay, I think that's the meat of it, right? Like I said, it's an hour and a half speech. You can watch it on your own time if you'd like. It's a long, drawn out thing. What are we thinking? So he basically has said he was running to end the chronic disease crisis as well as to end the war in Ukraine. He doesn't like that, right? And that's why he's supporting Trump to end the chronic disease crisis and because of his support of Ukraine. And so he's decided to support Trump. Do we think this matters? First of all, do we think that this matters in the grand scheme of things? I think that this was timed in order to try and get and combat the bump, the convention bump. So normally in a normal election cycle, and this cycle has been anything but normal, after the Democratic convention or the Republican convention, the candidate gets a small bump in the polls, a small bump in polling and all that, and people's support, etc. They see them. It's been a rah-rah event of a week, and so they get a small bump. This will, I think, and I'm guessing here, this was probably timed at the end of the DNC, because the DNC ended yesterday, timed in order to combat that bump. So they're hoping that by RFK dropping out and endorsing Trump, that will nullify the bump that Kamala would otherwise receive in the polls. Because, again, while many aggregate sites show Harris has a slight lead, not all of them do, and it's only a very slight lead. What I think is concerning to the Trump campaign, what is concerning to conservatives overall, is the momentum. It's the trajectory. It's not that she has a slight lead that's as concerning as she was far behind and it's been trending up for her. So they're worried about that momentum. And there is a saying that is true. Nothing succeeds like success. People love a winner. People want to be on board of the winning side. So there are people out there who will see someone winning and want to jump on that bandwagon. And this does lead to kind of like this cyclical thing where the more you win, the more people join your side, and then you win more, and it just kind of keeps going. So a campaign's job is to try to, if the opposing side is going through that kind of loop where they're trending upwards, you want to tamp that down. You want to make sure that the bump trails off, and then the momentum starts going in the other direction. And I think that that's why they time this at this time, right? That's my guess. And to be clear, it is only a guess, but it makes sense to me. But what do you guys think? Night of Day says, the Democrats went from don't ask what your country could do for you, but ask what you could do for your country, to now your country steals from you to give to people from other countries. Do you think that's stealing, though? Like, I don't think that us helping to support Ukraine is stealing from the American people. I don't think that it's going to hurt us economically. In fact, I think that it helps us. It creates jobs. Who do you think is manufacturing their weapons? It's Americans, baby. We are getting paid for this, okay? The U.S. government is paying American citizens to develop replacements for the weapons that we're giving to Ukraine. It's a good thing. It's a good thing. How's Twitch chat doing? What's Twitch up to? Are you guys just arguing with yourselves like you usually do? I love you guys for it, but this is what usually happens in my Twitch chat. Chiba Hawk says, as MAGA continues to fail and it becomes more and more evident convicted felon Trump will lose, they're becoming more pathetic and weird. It's hilarious. Conservative liberalism says, or why can't my country give me a cool $25,000 because I can't save up for a down payment? Oh, beautiful. Cancel the Communist says, RFK Jr.'s endorsement may have done more to combat the convention bump if the speech wasn't so wild. Dude talked about our country's puberty rate. He can be hand-waved like a Vermin Supreme endorsement now. You know what? You think that, but I don't know if I agree. I think that's cope. I'm going to tell you why. In matchups where RFK Jr. was added to the polling, he did get about 5 to 9% of the vote. In an election that's this close, that's not nothing. Look, I remember the 2000 election with Ralph Nader. Do you guys remember Ralph Nader? The spoiler? He got enough of the vote to keep Al Gore from being president, right? It wasn't a lot. He didn't get tons, but he got enough to keep Al Gore from being president. I imagine that this is going to be a similar situation where people who would normally have voted third party for RFK Jr. instead are likely to go for who he endorses. That won't be all of them. It won't be all of them. And I don't know how much are actually going to show up now. Like, if a lot of them will probably just sit out or vote for Jill Stein or another third party candidate. So we can prognosticate a little bit, but I think that this does move the needle, but it won't be the only thing that's pressuring that needle to move. So we'll have to see. I don't know, but it is interesting, right? It is interesting to talk about, and I would be remiss if I didn't bring this up today. James Streisand says, hit the like button, nerds. True. Like, because I'm doing it this way and I have this scene, I can't actually see my viewership on any platform, nor can I see the likes, but I just assume that everyone here wants to be here and loves the show, and that's what we're going to go on. Because, gang, even if I only have like 5 viewers or 50 viewers, I love every single viewer that comes through. And I love talking about this stuff. I like discussing politics. And I so few times get the chance to discuss politics and my thoughts with all of you. So I thought I'd take the day and do that. Because I watched the keynotes of the DNC. And I got thoughts. And I've watched kind of the fallout from various angles and sides and what people think. And it's interesting to discuss. It's interesting from a horse race perspective. It's interesting from a strategic perspective. It's interesting from a state of play perspective. So, why is Kanye West says, as soon as I clicked on Whick's YouTube channel, I got an ad for Tim Walz. I can't control the ads. I don't know who's adding and things. So, yeah. Jimmy Beam says, what's your thoughts on taxing unrealized gains? Are you talking about Kamala Harris's capital gains tax plan? I am not familiar enough with it to give a solid take. I am also not an economist. So it's one of those things I see and I don't have big thoughts on. I apologize. I don't know if you wanted something better than that. But when it comes to tax policy, I don't have real big feelings either way on this. It's not something that gets my gander up, nor do I have a lot of knowledge on how that works. So I can only defer to the experts or defer to people who I trust on this. I just don't know enough to comment on that. I don't know enough. I do have thoughts on the assault weapon stuff, right? Like, I got big feelings on that. I don't like it, but on this, yeah, that is what it is. That is what it is. Schwango says, can you actually articulate how the anti-establishment brain rot sticks with people? How do they not grow out of it? Speaking of RFK Jr. So this is actually something that I do care about because it is important. It does matter. And I think that this plays into why our politics are like how they are right now. And it's not in a good space. I don't like how our politics are. I don't think a lot of people do. I don't like where we are as a nation when it comes to political discourse. I think it's rotten, as you said. Here's the deal, and I'll try my best to kind of articulate this as I see it. There are people, and this happened mostly. I saw a spike in this after 2008. You remember the housing crisis back then? It was huge, right? A huge issue with the economy. We had a worldwide kind of like sinking. After that, I saw this rise in this anti-establishment thinking and way of thinking and way of doing things. And I credit that to something that was very real. And I think the mistake that the Bush made at the time and Obama also made this mistake, right? Both parties made the same mistake. And I think that mistake was bailing out the banks and not focusing on the working class. And I understand why they bailed out the banks. Like, there was good arguments to do so. But there was a huge backlash against that from left, right, and center among the working poor because they felt like they were shafted in this. They bared all the brunt of the cost of the failing economy, and the people who they viewed as causing that collapse bared almost no cost in their minds. I'm trying to speak from their perspective here, okay? That radicalized a lot of people. That made a lot of people really just want to destroy the system. They don't care. They didn't care anymore. A lot of lifelong Republicans, a lot of lifelong Democrats, a lot of lifelong people like that just said, fuck it. You guys don't care about me. I don't care about you. And this coalesced into several different movements. We saw the rise of the Tea Party at that time, right? Trump began his ascent around that time. Because, again, they waited to see what Obama would do during his term. They waited to see if he would help them out. A lot of them felt that he didn't. 2016 was a referendum on the establishment. It wasn't so much that they liked Trump at that time, but Trump was a vehicle under which they could throw a firebomb into the system. They wanted to destroy the system. They didn't like it. Okay, and Trump was designed to be a big middle finger, okay, to the elites, quote unquote. It's a rise of populism, right? Now, Trump has since wrangled that feeling, that idea, into a cult of personality, right? Where Trump has become the figurehead of that feeling. And here we are. Did that articulate it well enough? Did that kind of give you a good overview on my thoughts? Cancel the Commie says, if 2016 was a referendum on the establishment, then it's crazy that the establishment won that vote. Trump was considered at the time anti-establishment, and it's still among many is considered. I'm talking about perception here. I'm not talking about reality, okay? I'm not talking about whether Trump was actually an outsider coming in to drain the swamp. I'm talking about what people saw him as. And there's a big difference between these things. We make a mistake when we assume that it's only the facts that matter to these things. That's not how politics work. Facts play a role, but the primary driver amongst everyone almost in a political election cycle are vibes. Policy matters to an extent. And obviously, I'm painting with a broad brush here. There are outliers. There are people who look at policy. That's great. There are, and that's why you have to try to appeal to the vibes and the policy and, one issue voters. You have to kind of try to win as many as you can from each of these pots, each of these silos. But most people I've observed just vote on their feelings. And a lot of people, they don't decide who they're going to vote for until the day of, right? A lot of undecided voters, they won't really pick until they're in the voting booth. And it's crazy to think about, right? It's crazy to think about. But there are people who, again, it'll depend on their mood that day, whether or not they even go out to vote. It'll depend on their mood that day or how they view both of the candidates, what's happened in the last week that makes them whether or not they're going to vote blue or going to vote red or not vote at all. And that's just how it is. That's just how it is. Schwengo says policy only matters if it reinforces narratives and slogans. I think that oversells it a little bit. I think that policy does matter to some. It's not most. But again, there are people who will just look at the policies and weigh the positions and then make their vote accordingly. That's not most of us, but that is many. That there are quite a few who do that. And so I think that you do have to have a good policy because again, in elections, especially federal elections where the margins are razor thin, look at 2020, for example. Pennsylvania was decided by 20,000 votes, and Pennsylvania decided the election, right? I think it's going to be a similar situation this year, where it's going to come down to maybe 100,000 votes over 4 states. That's what's going to make the difference between Trump and Kamala. And we won't find out till the day of. Polls are nice. Polls can kind of give us an idea of where things are heading. But I don't know. I think people put too much emphasis on polls as well. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I know. Look, Lola's begging. She's been fed. I took her on a walk before this. She's okay. She'll be okay. She's not dying. She sounds like she's dying, but she's not dying. She's just mad that I won't take her on another walk, but we're streaming right now, so. Anyway, Jimmy Bean says, if the Dems keep this gaslight campaign going strong, there's no way Trump is in the White House. They literally keep misframing his abortion stance and saying he wrote Project 2025. Again, it's not about facts. It's about what the narratives can be played. It's about vibes and about what you can get people to believe and act on. And that's where we are. But look, I guess this brings us to another thing that I've seen recently when it comes to electoral politics I wanted to talk about today. Something I really dislike, something that's become more and more and more common. And I don't like it. I'm very upset about it, actually. I saw this. I've seen tweets like this, okay? So this is not the only tweet I've seen to this effect, but I've seen, but I think it's indicative. I think it's a good example of a style of tweet. And I wanted to talk about it. Let me pull it up real quick. Give me a second. And give me a second, gang. I want to make sure that I get it right and I'm not showing stuff I shouldn't show. Okay. Here we go. This is the Lily Gaddis. Okay. It's a picture of Tim Walz's son. Tim Walz's son is 17, I believe. He's a minor. Okay. During the DNC, during his dad's speech, he became emotional. He started crying. And ugly crying too, right? As you can see, right? He got up and he told people, that's my dad, that's my dad. He was very proud of his father and he was emotional about it. In come the worst people you could possibly fucking imagine, okay? The people I would have to scrape off my shoe, okay? Retard should be seen and not heard. And there's plenty of these tweets, okay? Plenty of these tweets that we could go through. Here's another one. Tim Walz is 60. His son is 17. That means he had him at age 43. That's spoiled semen. So yeah, do you drink 47-year-old dairy milk? What the fuck is this? What the fuck is this kind of thing going on? Like, and again, it's not just one or two. There's dozens of these, of high-profile conservative influencers and just assholes, basically. And I'm not trying to suggest that this is all conservatives. I hate when people do that. Again, a lot of my family are voting Trump. A lot of my family are Republicans. A lot of my family are conservatives. And they would never do something like this. They would never say something like this. But, and the left has a problem with it too, but we're going to get to that later. When has it become okay to take shots at people's families? When was that normalized? When was it like okay to see someone having emotion, okay, like this, during an emotional moment, someone who loved his dad, and then just be an asshole? It's not even fucking funny. Like, I could see if you made if there was a funny joke or a funny meme, it'd be a little distasteful, maybe laugh, but this isn't even funny. This isn't even funny, so I don't understand what the fuck is going on here. People hit on Rittenhouse, ugly cry, and other side shits now. Both are wrong. Yes. Like, the people who are making fun, like, I knew a few of them, right? I knew a few leftists who laughed when Rittenhouse was on stage crying. That was gross. That was disgusting. The man was having fucking emotion because, again, he was on trial, right? And he was thinking of he was talking about the time he took some people's lives. That's just emotional. And here you are just taking shots like that. And both sides will justify this is the fucking craziness of this, is that later on there will be a Republican who gets emotional and cries. There will. It'll happen. There'll be some embarrassing moment that happens with them. A lot of people will mock that, and then they will point to this and say, well, they did it. Look at them doing it. They started this. So now we're going to do the same thing. And round we go. And round we go, okay? Over and over and over again. Both sides will point to the other and say, look, they did it. Again, as if these few posts are indicative of a movement as a whole. And they'll say, look, that's them. We have to do the same thing too. If we want to win, we gotta engage in the same kind of attacks and the same kind of rhetoric, and we gotta do the exact same kind of thing. Can I just say how much I hate that way of thinking? How much I despise that way of dealing with the world? That because other people have done gross, disgusting, just deplorable actions, that justifies you doing gross, disgusting, deplorable things to the other side. There was this guy, STV Philly, who, look, you guys know I don't like JD Vance. I'm not a fan. I think he's a hypocrite. I think he's kind of an opportunist. I think he's a liar, okay? But people were coming after him for making for this a picture they found when he was like, I think he was like 16 or something, and he's in the bathroom, and women are in front of, like, his friends are in front of urinals. They're all women, and they're pretending to pee, and I thought, like, this is just a silly picture. Why are you going after this guy for this picture he had when he was like 16? Who cares, right? There's a lot more to kind of you can go after. Why are you going after this? Most people who follow me, thankfully, we're like, yeah, that's silly that they're going after them for it. But there's a few. There's always a few, okay? This retard comes out and is like, how dare you defend JD Vance like that? As if me simply observing something that's true is a defense of JD Vance. Or, look, here's the deal. If I see someone being unfairly attacked on the right or the left, whether I like them or I don't, I'll defend them. I don't check to see who they are before I defend them. I don't check to see if there's a D or an R next to their name before I say, no, that's stupid. What are you doing? Lay off. That's not the line of attack you want to go down. Okay? And look, there are things you can attack people for. There are things you can go after people for. There are things that you can legitimately criticize almost anyone for. But they choose to do it in ways that I find unacceptable. Let's say that. Ways that I find unacceptable. That's what I say. I don't know. I'm despairing, gang. I don't know if my way wins anymore. And that's the hell of it, right? I hope I'm wrong on this. But I wonder, I don't know. I wonder if their way wins and mine doesn't. I hope I'm wrong, but I get sad thinking about it. I get sad thinking like maybe that's just what's effective now. Maybe that's what people respond to now. It's the memes, right? I don't know. Okay, let's get back to RFK Jr. a little bit. Okay, let's get off this craziness. Oh, we got more crazy to come. Don't worry. So we watched RFK Jr.'s a little bit of him endorsing Trump. Again, it's an hour and a half of a speech. We're not going to go through it all. If you have clips of favorite moments, by all means, send me timestamps and we can check them out. But yeah, he said what he needed to say. He got into the race to stop the chronic disease issue, chronic illness issue, and he wanted to end the war in Ukraine or end our support of the war of Ukraine, basically. And so he's supporting Trump in order to do that. Let's read what he said back in May. Let's see what he had to say about President Trump back in May. Let's read this. I think it's telling. So this is, remember, we just heard RFK Jr. endorse President Trump. This is what he says in May. President Trump scammed American workers. He promised to bring back manufacturing, raise wages, fix trade deals, close the carried interest loophole, and help small farmers. But everything President Trump achieved were things the Republican machine wanted. We got a tax cut for Jeff Bezos, deregulation for special interests, and giveaways to agricultural conglomerates. President Trump let the Bush wing of the GOP run all his agencies. His Interior Secretary was an oil and gas lobbyist. His Defense Secretary was a Raytheon lobbyist. His EPA administrator was a coal lobbyist. His HHS Secretary was a pharmaceutical lobbyist. And his Labor Secretary was a lawyer for mega corporations. President Trump's supposed support for farmers, $28 billion, all went to big agriculture conglomerates. We had the worst rioting and looting this country had seen since the 60s under Trump. He inflamed racial tensions and didn't keep us safe. Instead of using federal law enforcement to stop the rioting, Trump thought it was good optics to let Democrat-run cities burn. President Trump bragged about arming Ukraine more than Obama did. Actually, this part is a point in Trump's favor, to be clear, and I'll give the man a win when he got to win. The fact that he did send military aid to Ukraine back in the day, big thumbs up for that, but that's an aside. Okay, he also walked away unilaterally from the intermediate range nuclear missile treaty with Russia, destabilizing our relationship. He also exacerbated tensions between Ukraine and Russia that ultimately caused the war. Trump appointed the worst neocons to the highest positions of power in his administration. Don Bolton, H.R. McMaster, and Robert O'Brien. Now, Lindsey Graham is one of his top advisors and likely to be a Secretary of State. President Trump bombed Syria, killed an Iranian general. Again, you got to give the man credit where it's due. Thumbs up, okay? And failed to fulfill his promise of ending the war in Afghanistan. President Trump invented lockdowns. He shut down millions of small businesses and facilitated the greatest wealth transfer to billionaires in this country's history. President Trump did nothing to solve the opioid crisis. It got far worse under his tenure, while his appointees running the HHS were in the pocket of Big Pharma. If you think second Trump term would be any different, you are engaged in wishful thinking. That is quite the difference. I wonder what happened in those since May. I wonder what happened since May to make the change. Weird. It's weird how suddenly none of that matters anymore. Look, some of the criticisms in there are actually points in Trump's favor. I'm not going to lie. Bombing Syria, killing the Iranian general, A+ work. Arming Ukraine, A+ work, okay? Again, people ask me, well, you're just a Trump hater. You suffer from Trump derangement syndrome. No, I don't. I acknowledge that there's some successes he had during his presidency. Those were a couple of them, okay? We can talk about Operation Warp Speed. That was another success in Trump's favor. The reason I'm not voting Trump, well, two reasons. One, most of his policies are bunk. I don't like them. And two, he tried to overthrow the election, and that's a red line for me. Okay. Whick TV, a lot changes when you're offered a job, I guess. Was he offered a job, or is that speculation? Mantis says, what a traitor. Who are you referring to? Oh, Trump is a crook. This is how you know RFK is a fucking phony, dude. Okay. Cacophony says, Kamala literally talked price controls. It changes a lot, Wick. Yeah, I don't like Kamala's economic policy when it comes to price gouging. Again, I'm not an economist. I can't give you certain I can only go on what the experts tell me. And most experts that I read and trust say that price gouging is the way that they're attempting to combat price gouging probably won't work. It's probably not going to be good for the economy. That said, Trump's tariffs are going to be worse for the economy. And so these are the kind of balancing acts that we have to do. Like Trump wants to put tariffs on things like that. And what a tariff is, in case you don't know, a tariff is a tax. And it's a tax that the Americans pay. You pay extra money to get those items. Cancel the Communist says, oh, you're just leaking me a tweet you made about Jesse Waters? What did, hold on, give me a second. I'm going to check this tweet out. They're saying that someone made a tweet that RFK got a job offer. I'm going to check it out, see if it's got any merit, but I don't want to put it on my screen quite yet. Oh, Waters is just okay, we can watch this for a moment. This isn't a cabinet position being offered. I'll let you guys look what was linked. Give me a second.
We went to the Trump campaign. I don't know if he's going to get a cabinet position. Knowing Trump, he may dangle something and then never give it, or give him something and, you know, Trump likes the action. That could be interesting to see RFK Jr. in a Trump administration. But Harris is...
Okay, that's all it was. So no one knows if he got offered a position or not. It's just speculation at this point. So there you are. What we have. Okay. Price controls are not gouging. As I saw, the things that I've seen from Harris have been ways to combat price gouging. If you have something where she mentions price controls, please link that to me. Send me a DM or put it in my Discord or something. I'll check it out. But the things that I've seen that she's mentioned have been attempts to combat price gouging. Could be, again, just have missed it, and it's possible. Jimmy Beam says, the tariffs will possibly force manufacturers to onshore more of their process. My company buys ingredients from Mexico and assembles the final product here. Theoretically, with the tariff, they will have to onshore the things they buy over there and find a way to make them here, creating jobs potentially. Look, maybe. Anything's possible. But tariffs in general, I think, are a bad idea. I'm a free trade baby, okay? I'm a free trade guy. I'm not a protectionist. I think that we need to be involved in global markets. I think we need to be involved in global issues. Again, I'm not an isolationist or a protectionist, so there we are. Okay, let's see. We were talking about RFK Jr. I get distracted by you guys sometimes, okay? That's okay. We love distracting Wick a little bit. It's fun. Okay. Who here puts one in chat one in chat if you think that RFK Jr. dropping out is going to impact the race significantly. And what I mean by significantly is it will either see a moderate to large shift in polling, or it will change the narrative of the race in a significant way where there's it becomes more of a focus. So if you think that it's going to it's going to impact the race like that, hit 1. If you don't, if you think this is just going to be a nothing burger, is not going to really see any kind of change, we'll stop talking about it in a week. 2s in chat. Okay. I want to see where my audience is at. So I see 1s from YouTube side, and I see 2s from Twitch side. So I think my has my audience segregated itself? Have my audience decided that the more right-leaning people are going to be on YouTube and the more left-leaning people are going to be on Twitch? Is that the unspoken agreement you guys have made? Oh, here's some 2s in my YouTube chat. Okay, I see a few now. But I still don't see any 1s in Twitch. That's funny. We're pro-segregation at least. I'm not. Look, I understand that perhaps I am naive when I say this. But I would like to think, that we could all exist in the same space and not tear each other's throat out and be amicable, at least. I'd like to think that. Maybe it's because I've always been around people who challenged me politically. I've never been in a space where I've been surrounded by just one political group. And when I say that, I mean like in my friends, family kind of influence circle. I've never had only lefty friends or only right-leaning friends. I've always had friend groups that have run the gamut, okay? A lot of libertarians, for whatever reason, seem to like being friends with me, okay? Some lefties and some righties, right? But mostly it's a mix. And so it always surprises me when I see people who have only right-leaning people in their friend group or only left-leaning people in their friend group, and they talk about how the other side either won't be friends with them anymore. That happens sometimes. Or that they can't stand those commies or can't stand those fascists, and they've kicked them all out of their life, right? I've seen a lot of people say, I refuse to go to my family's Thanksgiving dinner anymore because Aunt Janet says turfy talking points, or or Uncle Jimmy is such a raging communist that I can't stand him anymore, right? And I hear that all the time, and it just makes me sad as well. Just makes me sad as well. If Jill Stein, Cornel West, and RFK Jr. go all out, it could be a close. What do you mean by all out? Do you mean if they all drop out of the race? Tan M says RFK was nothing burger to this point and he will be forgotten in a week. Yeah, why is Kanye West raging communist? LOL. I mean, there are a few. Look, I've had friends who were pretty red. Oh, okay, there's been a few. Base Liberty says the world's oldest woman said key to long life is cut out toxic people. There's a thing about toxic people. If you're cutting people out of your life because of their political beliefs, you're the toxic one. Just saying. If you're cutting people out because of what they believe politically or how they vote, and that's all, you're the toxic one. If they're otherwise great to you, if they otherwise behave nice to you, if they otherwise treat you friendly, why are you cutting them off? Look, we talked about the state of our political discourse, okay? We have, and how it's become more and more mean, toxic, less integrated in a very real way than it has in decades. Not ever, obviously. We had the Civil War. We had the 60s. There's been periods of time like this before. But these weren't good times. There were times of vicious upheaval and division. It's never been good. I think the reason it's exacerbated today is it is so easy to just cut everyone who doesn't think like you out of your life. Cut everyone who thinks like you, who doesn't think like you, out of your life. You can make people cease to exist in a real way, from your perspective. If they have a take that you don't like, block them. Mute them. Ban them. They literally will cease to exist. You won't see them anymore. You won't hear them anymore. And it's super easy to do. It is super, super duper easy. Okay? It's very easy. And I think that's caused us harm. Because instead of having to learn how to deal with ideas that challenge you and with people that challenge your ideas, you could just make them go away. And that is easier now than it has ever been. Monsieur Ball says, I could not cut you out, Whick. I need you to boost my self-esteem. Well, I appreciate it, I think. Zero Fox said then there would be no one left. And for some, well, let me direct you to the rise in loneliness stats across the nation, okay? How more and more people are feeling lonely, isolated, and like they aren't a part of any community anymore, and how that has been a huge rise and a huge increase in the last 5-10 years. So I wonder if these are correlated in any way. I don't know, but it's my guess that perhaps these might have some effect on one another. Could be wrong. I often am. That's another thing I didn't like about the speech that RFK Jr. gave. The certainty, and he used that word several times. So for those of you who don't know, my channel used to be called Death of Certainty because I felt, and I still feel, that certainty is chains that hold us back. That if you're ever 100% certain on something, that's a red flag. It doesn't mean you're wrong, but it means, you might want to take a step back and consider. You might want to keep open the idea that you were wrong. I think that makes for better thinking. I think that makes for better discourse. I think that makes for better decision making. And again, he used this several times in his speech, how certain he was that he was making the right move, how certain he was doing the right thing, how certain he was going in the right path. And I don't know, maybe it's just a bias I have, but it just set up a lot of red flags in me. I don't know. Any last thoughts on RFK? Then we're gonna move on to the DNC. Any last thoughts? Zero Fox says, I think the connection is valid. Yeah, maybe. Dave's Liberty says, I think you're right on certainty. The problem is in current times, people are not even believing in basic facts like Earth is a globe. That's another problem, right? But see, here it is. They are so certain that the establishment is lying to them that they'll believe any old thing that is anti-establishment. It's a symptom of a similar problem. Does that make sense? It's still a symptom of certainty, but in the opposite direction. Why is Kanye West says Kamala doubled down on Israel? We're going to talk about that. So I got Jock Share Rock says, Wick, if you saw how insane the anti-Biden/Harris contingency were, you'd understand why they're cut out of someone's life. It's so bad. I told one guy to stop talking politics. He didn't listen. He screamed every time he was disagreed with, and that was enough for me. Look, if they're screaming at you, that's one thing. But like, I have friends who are voting Trump, but they're nice about it. Like, people say this, that the other side is insane. And this is something that both sides will say to the other side. Like, right-leaning podcasters, influencers, and people I talk to in general, a lot of them will say, look how insane the left has become. Then when you talk to the left, same thing, only in reverse. You'll look at them, you'll talk to them, and they'll be like, look at how insane that the right has become. You have to be insane or stupid or naive to be on the other side. That's not true, gang. No side has a monopoly on good people. I'm going to pull out a Trump quote here. There are good people on both sides of the aisle. There are good people who are Republican. There are good people who are Democrat. There are good people who are lefties. There are good people who are super conservative. Am I blowing your mind right now? Maybe. Like I said, just as both sides, neither has a monopoly on good people. Neither has a monopoly on terrible people. Okay? We looked at some of the terrible people that were on the right with making and mocking fun of walls. Let's look at some of the terrible people on the left. Okay? Are you guys ready? We're gonna hit both sides here, gang. We're not holding fire just because there's a D in front of their name or whatever. We're going to take shots at everyone who's retarded today. Let's read some tweets. Oh, our old friend, Hasan. Our old friend, Hasan. Hasan got kicked out of the DNC, or at least from the press area, right? The production area. He was asked to leave. He was booted out. That's kind of funny to me. I don't know. Maybe that's mean. I don't know, but it's kind of funny to me. Kind of a little funny. Whick is worshiping the goddess Janus tonight. Am I? So this is what Hasan Hasan said about Kamala Harris's speech. And we're going to watch it. It's not that long. We're going to watch that in a minute here. But I want you to read what he has to say first. Oh, Tyler Hall says, Whick talking facts about good people being everywhere, though. I think he should add a caveat that there are no good people in Canada. Yeah, I'm referring to people, not Canadians, okay? I'm talking about people. Canadians are different, okay? We can discuss that later. But no, good old-fashioned people like exist in America, okay? That's who I'm talking about, not Canadians. We shouldn't laugh at retards. You can laugh a little bit if they're funny. He says this is about Kamala Harris's speech. I care about labor, anti-war, free healthcare, and college for all. I want a pathway to citizenship for immigrants. I want my taxes to go towards fixing the roads and schools in this country instead of lining the pockets of the MIC execs. Kamala's speech seemed hostile to all that. So again, let's hit them up. Labor, anti-war, free healthcare, college for all, pathway to citizenship for immigrants, taxes going towards infrastructure, basically, fixing the roads and schools, and not lining people's pockets. Faith for $2 says, Whick is fair, leans lefty, but is generally fair. I try to be. I'm not unbiased. If anyone says I'm unbiased, they're lying to you. I have my biases. I just try to take those into account when I'm reviewing his situation. But yeah, so, man, I read this. I actually read this before I saw the tweet, the speech, to be clear. I didn't watch the speech live. I watched it later. I watched it earlier today, actually. I was like, damn, what did Kamala say? Okay, what did Kamala say? And I'd seen some clips, okay? I'd seen some clips. And she did talk about her wanting us to have the most lethal military in the world, and people were calling that fascist. Also retarded. But I was like, okay, well, let's see what else she had to say. So I want you to keep Hasan's comments here in mind as we watch Kamala's speech, okay? We're going to, again, it's not that long. We're going to go through it. I'm going to pause at occasions, give my thoughts. Yeah, there's going to be clapping, yay, and it's going to be a little rah, rah, rah. They're all like this. But there's some substance to it, and we're going to get into it. Schwengo says, it's not cool to call retards retarded, Whick. I'm not that cool of a guy, I guess. But let's go to let me get the right speech up. Let's watch this speech. Oh, you know what? Actually, there's a couple other tweets that were made that we should read before we do that. I apologize. This is retard number 2 on the left here. Kate Willett. I fucking hated George W. Bush so goddamn much and still do, and it was really disturbing that I now am effectively in his party. She's referring to Democrats, and I've seen several people say this. Democrats being Republicans, 2000 era Republicans now. These people are crazy. These people are crazy. But let's listen to the speech, okay? Let's listen to the speech. Enough diddly-dallying. Enough of that, okay? So the speech isn't too long. It's a little longer than I thought it would be. Maybe time flies when I was playing video games while I was listening to it. But let's go to the speech.
Popeye's Big Box is back for just $6.99.
Ads, gang. Ads. So let me make sure. Oh, wrong button. You can see her there, okay? And we're going to listen to the speech. We're going to go through it. We're going to speed it up just a tad. Just a tad. And I'll be pausing throughout, and we will rate it. We will rate the speech, okay? So I'm curious what the right-wing people in my audience thought of this speech. I tried not to spoil it by looking at other people's takes too much. I mean, I got my guesses of what a lot of the talking heads said about it, because the talking heads are talking heads. They're always going to say this. Kamala could again have given the best speech of the century, and the talking heads would say it was the worst thing ever. Now, the talking heads on the left think she could have given the worst speech ever, and the talking heads on the left would have been praising it as the second coming of the Messiah. So, again, keep that in mind, okay? But you guys know I'm not a huge Kamala fan. I didn't want her to be the nominee. I wanted Biden still in the race. I thought Biden's speech was great, by the way. We might listen to that too. I think Biden gave one of the better speeches. Obama's was the best, but Biden's up there. But yeah, let's listen to the speech and let's see what she has to say. Okay, enough of mine going off.
Good evening.
Good evening. Hi. Okay, all the fanfare. Where does she get to?
Thank you all.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We're going to skip all this.
Thank you. Please, thank you so very much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Okay, let's get to business. All right. So let me start by thanking my most incredible husband, Doug.
Thanks, Doug.
For being an incredible partner to me, an incredible father to Cole and Ella, and happy anniversary, Dougie. I love you so very much. To our President Joe Biden.
Yeah, getting all the thanks out. Yeah.
When I think about the path that we have traveled together, Joe, I am filled with gratitude. Your record is extraordinary, as history will show, and your character is inspiring. And Doug and I love you and Jill and are forever thankful to you both. And to Coach Tim Walz,
assistant coach, as Trump would say. He wasn't a real coach. He was an assistant coach.
And to the delegates and everyone who has put your faith in our campaign, your support is humbling. So, America, the path that led me here in recent weeks was no doubt unexpected. But I'm no stranger to unlikely journeys. So, my mother, our mother, Shamala Harris, had one of her own. And I miss her every day, and especially right now. And I know she's looking down smiling. I know that. So my mother was 19 when she crossed the world alone, traveling from India to California with an unshakable dream to be the scientist who would cure breast cancer. When she finished school, she was supposed to return home to a traditional arranged marriage. But as fate would have it, she met my father, Donald Harris, a student from Jamaica. They fell in love and got married, and that act of self-determination made my sister Maya and me. Growing up, we moved a lot. I will always remember that big Mayflower truck packed with all our belongings, ready to go to Illinois.
They all have to get their origin story, and I understand it. Look, it's kind of cringe. Not gonna lie, I get why they do it. They want to be relatable. They want to make sure that you understand who they are, and especially Harris, because a lot of people, despite her being vice president, don't know a lot about her, right, as a person. So I understand what she's doing here. I get it, but come on, let's get to the meat and potatoes. Let's get some meat and potatoes. I personally don't give a shit who your mom and dad were, and or your origin story, or how you got into being as a person. I know the gist of it. I know how that works. I learned it in elementary school. Trust me. But let's keep going.
To Wisconsin and wherever our parents' jobs took us. My early memories of our parents together are very joyful ones. A home filled with laughter and music, Aretha, Coltrane, and Miles. At the park, my mother would say, "Stay close." But my father would say, as he smiled, "Run, Kamala, run. Don't be afraid. Don't let anything stop you."
No living being should ever eat processed food for every single meal.
Yeah. Commercials. Okay, sorry about that.
From my earliest years, he taught me to be fearless. But the harmony between my parents did not last. When I was in elementary school, they split up. And it was mostly my mother who raised us. Before she could finally afford to buy a home, she rented a small apartment in the East Bay. In the Bay, you either live in the hills or the flatlands. We lived in the flats. A beautiful working-class neighborhood of firefighters, nurses, and construction workers, all who tended
they
their
all
lawns
come
with
from
pride.
working
My
class
mother,
backgrounds.
she worked
All
long
of them
hours.
do.
And like many working parents,
they all say they
she
do at
leaned
least.
on a trusted circle to help raise us. Mrs. Shelton, who ran the daycare below us and became a second mother. Uncle Sherman, Aunt Mary, Uncle Freddie, Auntie Chris. None of them family by blood, and all of them family by love. Family who taught us how to make gumbo, how to play chess, and sometimes even let us win. Family who loved us, believed in us,
Hold
and told
on.
us we could be
Lola,
anything
what's going
and
on?
do anything.
Are you okay? Are you dying? Oh, no. Okay.
They instilled in us the values they personified.
Am I muted? I'm muted the whole time. My God. Pro streamer move. Pro streamer move right there. No, I was just saying I'm going to give my dog a treat because she's whining a little bit. Let me give a dog a treat, and we'll get back to it. And I will put her on a little faster because, my God, let's get past the mythologizing of your backstory and your origin story. I get it. You were raised in a working class family. You got by your grit, and you rose through the ranks thanks to the people around you who helped you. This is all it's like it's Mad Libs with this shit, okay? You throw in different locations, different names, but it's Mad Libs with this shit. They all do this. It's not different. It's not new. Okay, I get it. I understand why. But yeah. Give me 1 second. Sorry, gang. Lola. You want a treat? I'm back, bitches. Back. Okay. Sorry about that. Again, I had to feed the hound. She's had dinner. Don't let her fool you. But she wanted cheese. I give her cheese as a treat. She wanted it. I gave it to her. Let's keep going. Tom Flory, nice to see you. Welcome.
Personified community, faith, and the importance of treating others as you would want to be treated, with kindness, respect, and compassion. My mother was a brilliant, 5-foot-tall, brown woman with an accent. And as the eldest child, I saw how the world would sometimes treat her. But my mother never lost her cool. She was tough, courageous, a trailblazer in the fight for women's health, and she taught Maya and me a lesson that Michelle mentioned the other night. She taught us to never complain about injustice, but do something about it. Do something about it.
Man, I wish some people on Twitter would take that advice. But Twitter's built on complaining about perceived injustices towards you and those around you, okay? Victimhood complex is real. Let's keep going.
That was my mother. And she taught us, and she also taught us, and never do anything half-assed. And that is a direct quote. A direct quote. I grew up immersed in the ideals of the civil rights movement. My parents had met at a civil rights gathering, and they made sure that we learned about civil rights leaders, including the lawyers like Thurgood Marshall and Constance Baker Motley, those who battled in the courtroom to make real the promise of America. So at a young age, I decided I wanted to do that work. I wanted to be a lawyer. And when it came time to choose the type of law I would pursue, I reflected on a pivotal moment in my life. You see, when I was in high school, I started to notice something about my best friend Wanda. She was sad at school, and there were times she didn't want to go home. So one day I asked if everything was all right, and she confided in me that she was being sexually abused by her stepfather. And
that's heavy shit. See, I like this portion of the speech. Pre-watched, I know, I already saw this. But I liked this portion of the speech because she tells why she became what she became, why she went down the road that she did. And she saw a classmate, a compatriot, right, who had a horrific thing happen to her, okay? And that shaped her, and she wanted to actually do something about it, right? So I think that this was well done overall. I think this portion right here was pretty powerful, but let's keep listening.
Immediately told her she had to come stay with us, and she did. This is one of the reasons I became a prosecutor, to protect people like Wanda, because I believe everyone has a right to safety, to dignity, and to justice.
Powerful line, and I'm so glad that she's not running away from her prosecutorial background. One of the reasons that I didn't like her in 2020 was I felt like she shied away from that because of the time, right? She kind of like hid from that part of her, but that's the best part of her. Okay, that's the best part of her. The fact that she's law and order is good, actually. Will win votes, actually, and I think that it's a good way to be. It's what she needs to focus in on. So I'm glad she didn't shy away from it this time. I'm glad we've learned some lessons.
As a prosecutor, when I had a case, I charged it not in the name of the victim, but in the name of the people. For a simple reason. In our system of justice, a harm against any one of us is a harm against all of us. And I would often explain this to console survivors of crime, to remind them no one should be made to fight alone. We are all in this together. And every day, in the courtroom, I stood proudly before a judge, and I said 5 words: Kamala Harris for the people. And to be clear, my entire career, I've only had one client, the people.
That means she was a prosecutor, gang. Just so you know. But fair enough. She represented the people against alleged criminals. Well, let's carry on.
And so, on behalf of the people, on behalf of every American, regardless of party, race, gender, or the language your grandmother speaks, on behalf of my mother and everyone who has ever set out on their own unlikely journey, on behalf of Americans like the people I grew up with, people who work hard, chase their dreams, and look out for one another.
A.K.A. Batusi says, Whick, do you want my right-wing take of the speech or my centrist take on it? I want your real take on it. I want your genuine take on it. neither right nor left nor center. Just give me what you think, buddy. Right? And I'm curious what you guys think, right? I really am. Especially if you are undecided. I don't know how many I have of those in my audience, but if you've been not sure who you're going to vote, cast your vote for come November, and you have thoughts on this, good or bad, I'm open to hearing it. Like I said, my biases are clear. I think this speech was pretty good overall. Wasn't the best of the convention, but it was pretty good. But we'll talk about why as we go, and I'll highlight what I liked, what I didn't. Like I said, I think this segment here, where she's talking about her why she became a lawyer and her prosecutorial background, I think it's good. I think it's a good line. I think it's powerful. I think it will resonate with voters. And it resonates with me because, again, gang, I'm a Democrat, but I'm not a lefty, okay? I'm not, I am on the left, but I'm not a lefty. Does that make sense? I think that criminals need justice. Would I like it to be rehabilitative? Sure. But I also want them to make sure that they don't hurt other people. So I like the fact that she's a prosecutor. I've never been into the whole ACAB nonsense. I've always thought it was nonsense. I thought it was nonsense back in 2020. But, is what it is. Let's keep listening.
On behalf of everyone whose story could only be written in the greatest nation on earth, I accept your nomination to be President of the United States of America.
Yeah, everyone's clapping. Yay, 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 yay. Good job.
You need an agent who is going to be your cheerleader, the person who believes in what you do.
And with this election...
Sorry. Apologize for the ads.
And with this election, our nation with this election has a precious, fleeting opportunity to move past the bitterness, cynicism, and divisive battles of the past, a chance to chart a new way forward. Not as members of any one party or faction, but as Americans. And let me say, I know there are people of various political views watching tonight, and I want you to know, I promise to be a president for all Americans. You can always trust me to put country above party and self.
Great line, by the way. Great line. I think that is something we need. I hope she means it. I hope she means it. I hope she's being serious here. Because we need that. We need people who aren't just going to be a Democrat or Republican, but who will be a president for America. Who will be an American first. Honkler 303 says, so sad to hear RFK surrender to MAGA mob. I hope that those guys were more anti-Trump than anti-Harris. Thank you for the membership for 7 months at tier 2. Look at you go. Thank you. Hearshot says that's what Biden said. A lot of them say this. Right? Where I have hope for Harris because she put someone on. I'm trying to remember the guy's name. But he was part of the January 6th hearings. He's Republican. He's conservative. Kaczynski, something like that. John Kaczynski. I'm butchering the name, I'm sure. But a lot of people were mad that he was giving a speaking slot over the pro-Palestine people. Like a lot of the pro-Palestine people were very upset. Adam Kinzinger, I think that was his name. Thank you. Kinzinger. I butchered it. I knew I was. But he was given a speaking slot at the DNC, okay? And he stayed on message. He gave a pretty powerful speech about why Trump couldn't be president, why he was unfit for office. From the conservative lens of things, from the conservative side of things. I thought it was very well done. A lot of the pro-Palestine people were mad that they had how dare you have a conservative on and not us? And I think that we need more of that. We need more voices from left, right, and center on these convention stages. I want to see more Democrats speak at the Republican convention. I want to see more Republicans speak at the Democrat convention because I want to get rid of these team sports style of things. So back to the matter at hand, though. Harris saying this and backing it up by bringing on Republicans and conservatives. Again, people who vote against us 80 to 90% of the time, but still agree that in this election, we can't let Trump win again. I think that that's a powerful message, the ones that resonates with me. And I think that to the undecided voter, it probably also sends a message, because I think a lot of the undecided voters are undecided because they don't like the divisiveness. They don't like the team sports of it all, right? They just don't. They're tired of it. They're sick of it. They hate how much hate there is. So I hope she's serious about this. I don't know if she is, but I hope she is. Let's keep going.
Hold sacred America's fundamental principles, from the rule of law to free and fair elections to the peaceful transfer of power. I will be a president who unites us around our highest aspirations.
It's funny watching them clap in fast motion.
A president who leads and listens, who is realistic, practical, and has common sense, and always fights for the American people. From the courthouse to the White House, that has been my life's work. As a young courtroom prosecutor in Oakland, California, I stood up for women and children against predators who abuse them. As Attorney General of California, I took on the big banks, delivered $20 billion from middle-class families who faced foreclosure, and helped pass a homeowner Bill of Rights, one of the first of its kind in the nation.
That's powerful too, because again, remember earlier, someone asked me, I think Schwanger asked me about why is everyone so brain rotted, and I pointed to the 2008 banking crisis, right, the housing crisis, and how a lot of people were upset with Bush and upset with the establishment and upset with Obama because they bailed out the banks. So leaning on any history of challenging the big banks, the corporations, and things like that, I think that resonates with that kind of voter, and I think that's a powerful message, and she's delivering it now.
I stood up for veterans and students being scammed by big for-profit colleges, for workers who are being cheated out of their wages, the wages they were due, for seniors facing elder abuse. I fought against the cartels who traffic in guns and drugs and human beings, who threaten the security of our border and the safety of our communities.
She's hitting on immigration. That's good. She's hitting on border security. That's good. She needs to keep doing that because, again, someone needs to take care of the cartels. The cartels are a problem. And there's a lot of people who want to hand wave that away or want to wish cast that away, especially on the left, who don't see that as a big deal and think, we should have more open borders and things like that. The fact that she's signaling with this that she is going to be tough on the border is good, actually. Not just from an electoral perspective, but from a policy perspective as well. From a policy perspective. And remember, that does not mean that we deport everyone, right? That does not mean that we don't provide a pathway to citizenship for immigrants. These are not at odds. These are not at odds. You can do both. You can keep the bad guys out, and you can provide an easier access for the people that we want to come in, right? The people who will make our nation better. I like immigration. I do. What I don't like are, again, drug traffickers, cartel members, all these people, right? Having an easy way in. I think that's bad, and I think we have ignored the border for too long. And right on left, right? Both sides have been making this a fucking political issue, right? I think that Biden's the bill that he tried to get passed recently was a good start. Right, where they added funding for border patrols for judges in the border. I think that was a good bill, but Republicans played politics with it because they wanted it to be an election issue. But I like that Kamala here is signaling that she's going to be strong on the border. Let's keep listening.
And I will tell you, these fights were not easy, and neither were the elections that put me in those offices. We were underestimated at practically every turn, but we never gave up because the future is always worth fighting for.
Meet your next pillow.
Oh, God, the ads. Oh, my God, what is with the ads?
I'll tell you.
Why are there so many? I don't care about you, pillow guy. What? I don't want to answer your YouTube fucking thing.
And that's the fight we are in right now, a fight for America's future. Fellow Americans, this election is not only the most important of our lives, it is one of the most important in the life of our nation. In many ways, Donald Trump is an unserious man. But the consequences of putting Donald Trump back in the White House are extremely serious. Consider not only the chaos and calamity when he was in office, but also the gravity of what has happened since he lost the last election. Donald Trump tried to throw away your votes. When he failed, he sent an armed mob to the United States Capitol, where they assaulted law enforcement officers. When politicians in his own party begged him to call off the mob and send help, he did the opposite. He fanned the flames. And
I want to pause here because there's a couple things that have been said, some that I don't like and some that I do. I like what she's saying now about January 6th. Now, a lot of you won't in my audience because you have different views on it, but this is how I view it. I view that on January 6th, Trump, again, with his slates of electors, of alternate electors, this was part of a plan in order to throw my vote out, basically. It's why I was so mad when people kicked Biden out. So I'm still mad about that, right? I'm not happy. I didn't want it. They threw my vote out, and I'm upset. But I did also vote for Harris, so I'm holding fire until after the election, right? Had the nominee been someone other than Harris, I would have sat this one out. I wouldn't have voted because they would have thrown my vote out. I take this shit seriously. And Trump tried to do that. He absolutely did. What I don't like, and something I fear is too common nowadays, it's always been a thing, but nowadays it's far too common, is this allusion to if we don't elect our guy or girl, as the case may be, and the other side wins, America is going to be destroyed. We will lose America and what it means to be American. I don't like Trump. But America's still going to be America. We're still going to have elections. I think there are going to be serious consequences. I mean, your vote does matter. Who is president does matter. But it's not going to be like this fascist regime where they're going to round us up all in camps and send us to the mines. Much as if I hate it when people say that if Harris gets elected, they're going to come and throw us in the communist labor camps, and that we're going to be have death panels where we're deciding who lives and dies. Remember all the death panel nonsense they used to talk about, right? It's all this shit, right? The people talk about how if the other side wins, we're not going to have a country anymore. I don't like it. I think it's stoking this extremism in our country. It's giving us it gives people an excuse to be extremists, and I don't like that. So I didn't like that. But let's keep reading.
And now, for an entirely different set of crimes, he was found guilty of fraud by a jury of everyday Americans, and separately found liable for committing sexual abuse.
Hold on. Cancel the Communist asks, were you born pre-1960s where there were no primaries for president? Would you refuse to vote? So this is one of those things that people say sometimes that, oh, like they didn't used to have primaries for most of America's existence. Yeah, but it was worse back then. It was worse for democracy, in my opinion. I think the primary system we have, while flawed, it's not perfect, is better now than it was back then. I think that, would I refuse to vote back then? I don't know. But the fact that you told me I had a vote, and then you were like, oh, just kidding, that's different than simply not giving me a vote at all. Does that make sense? I hope it does.
And consider what he intends to do if we give him power again. Consider his explicit intent to set free violent extremists who assaulted those law enforcement officers at the Capitol. His explicit intent to jail journalists, political opponents, and anyone he sees as the enemy. His explicit intent to deploy our active duty military against our own citizens. Consider
she's
the power
just preaching.
He will have, especially after the United States Supreme Court just ruled that he would be immune from criminal prosecution. Just imagine Donald Trump with no guardrails, and how he would use the immense powers of the presidency of the United States, not to improve your life, not to strengthen our national security, but to serve the only client he has ever had, himself.
Rhetorically, I think that's powerful. I think the comparison there, where she mentioned earlier that her client has only been the people, whereas Trump has only cared about himself, I think that resonates. Look, you can think that Trump will be better for America, and that's fine, but you have to understand that Trump is out for Trump. Like, Trump's number one has always been Trump. It just has. I mean, you can see that in his behavior, his actions. You can still think he'd be a better choice. That's fair. But you have to admit that he's a selfish guy. He's an opportunist by nature. Well, let's keep going.
And we know what a second Trump term would look like. It's all laid out in Project 2025, written by his closest advisors, and its sum total is to pull our country back to the past. But America, we are not going back. We are not going back. We are not going back. We are not going back to...
I don't like that line, not going back either. I think it's weird, but people like it, so whatever. It's just a taste thing, I guess.
And Donald Trump tried to cut Social Security and Medicare. We are not going back to when he tried to get rid of the Affordable Care Act, when insurance companies could deny people with pre-existing conditions. We are not going to let him eliminate the Department of Education that funds our public schools. We are not going to let him end programs like Head Start that provide preschool and childcare for our children. America, we are not going back. And we are charting a new way forward to a future with a strong and growing middle class, because we know a strong middle class has always been critical to America's success.
This is another, okay, this middle class stuff. Everyone says this. Right, left, and center, okay? Middle class, middle class, middle class, middle class, middle class, middle class. If you took a shot every time a politician talked about the middle class, you'd probably die. You would be in a coma from alcohol poisoning. I get it. I understand why they do it, but it's like my brain kind of turns off when they kind of say these things that everyone says. That's just me. My brain just shuts off. I'm like, okay, yeah, they're just saying the politician thing.
And building that middle class will be a defining goal of my presidency. And I'll tell you, this is personal for me. The middle class is where I come from. My mother kept a strict budget. We lived within our means, yet we wanted for little. And she expected us to make the most of the opportunities that were available to us and to be grateful for them. Because, as she taught us, opportunity is not available to everyone. That's why we will create what I call an opportunity economy where everyone has the chance to compete and a chance to succeed. Whether you live in a rural area, small town, or big city.
I like that she's including rural America in this. Like, for too long, America, like, I'm going to criticize my own party. I think the Democrats sometimes ignore rural America, or they stereotype it, and I think they do so unfairly. I think it's a blind spot that we have. We don't think of rural Americans, Appalachia things as real people, and that's a problem. They've been devastated economically for a while. They've lost jobs left, right, and center for decades. There's a huge deaths of despair crisis, an opioid crisis in rural America. And we tend to kind of just ignore it. Or sometimes we just call them racist and move on. That's a mistake. That's wrong. That's immoral, in my opinion. And so I hope she means it when she wants to revitalize rural America and include rural America in these things. I hope she means it. Well, let's keep going.
And as president, I will bring together labor and workers and small business owners and entrepreneurs and American companies to create jobs, to grow our economy, and to lower the cost of everyday needs like healthcare and housing and groceries. We will provide access to capital for small business owners and entrepreneurs and founders. And we will end America's housing shortage and protect Social Security and...
End the shortage? How? Tell me more. I want to know. Is she going straight YIMBY tonight, gang? Do you think? I hope so. That caught my ear when I first heard it, right? It caught my ear again, right? Build more housing? Let's do it. Let's hear some more. Hopefully she goes into this.
Medicare. Now compare that to Donald Trump. Because I think everyone here knows he doesn't actually fight for the middle class. He doesn't actually fight for the middle class. Instead, he fights for himself and his billionaire friends. And he will give them another round of tax breaks that will add up to $5 trillion to the national debt. And all the while, he intends to enact what in effect is a national sales tax, call it a Trump tax, that would raise prices on middle-class families by almost...
A Trump tax. Rhetorically, again, I'm not an economist. The tax stuff, generally, something I can't really opine on. But Trump calling it a Trump tax is a win rhetorically.
Almost $4,000 a year. Well, instead of a Trump tax hike, we will pass a middle-class tax cut that will benefit more than 100 million Americans. Friends, I believe America cannot truly be prosperous unless Americans are fully able to make their own decisions about their own lives, especially on matters of heart and home. But tonight, in America, too many women are not able to make those decisions. And let's be clear about how we got here. Donald Trump handpicked members of the United States Supreme Court to take away reproductive freedom. And now he brags about it. In his words, quote, "I did it and I'm proud to have done it," end quote.
So regardless of what you think about abortion, what your stance is, whether you're pro-life, pro-choice, somewhere in the middle. Oh, what happened? Did I dip? Can you guys still hear me? Am I still live? Hello? Oh, I'm still live? You guys still hear me? I don't know. I don't know what... I had a little weirdness on my tech. Regardless, abortion, okay? I'm stated this. I don't like abortion. I would never participate in an abortion. However, I think that making it illegal or putting criminal charges on it or even civil charges on this is just going to lead to more death. And I don't think that the government should be weighing in on this. I think that it should be a choice that everyone makes. And God can judge. I'm not going to. I think that, again, regardless of what you think about this, it's been clear that most Americans, they generally side with the Democrats on this one. Again, even in red states, even in states like Kansas and Ohio, where they have referendums on abortion and putting protections for abortion into their state constitutions, again and again and again, they vote for this. So making this a strong campaign issue, right? One of the focus points of your speech, one of the focus points of your campaigns. It's how you're going to win, right? It's by appealing to that type of voter, right? And showcasing that you will protect abortion rights, women's health care, etc. That's a good thing for electoral politics, right? So I think she's doing what she needs to do here, and I think she needs to really highlight this and make this a campaign focus. Again, it's not something that, like, it's one of those things that it just makes me sad, the whole topic. I don't like it. But here we are. Let's keep going.
Well, I'll tell you, over the past 2 years, I've traveled across our country, and women have told me their stories. Husbands and fathers have shared theirs. Stories of women miscarrying in a parking lot, developing sepsis, losing the ability to ever again have children, all because doctors are afraid they may go to jail for caring for their patients. Couples just trying to grow their family, cut off in the middle of IVF treatments. Children who have survived sexual assault, potentially being forced to carry a pregnancy to term. This is what's happening in our country because of Donald Trump. And understand, he is not done. As a part of his agenda, he and his allies would limit access to birth control, ban medication abortion, and enact a nationwide abortion ban with or without Congress.
I keep hearing this limit access to birth control stuff. Do I have it? Like, I have never heard... I have not talked to a Republican, a conservative, who's on board with getting rid of birth control. Except for, like, the crazy people, right? There's some crazy people out there online, but day-to-day Republicans I talk to, none of them want to get rid of birth control, right? None of them want to get rid of or restrict access to birth control. Most of them like birth control, in fact. And I think almost all Americans do. But yet, I do, on occasion, see bills proposed in very Bible Belt areas that are looking to block access or restrict access to birth control. And I can't help but think to myself, like, how stupid is that from just a horse race just from a strategic perspective, right? Like, this isn't a winning issue for you guys. And it's just a gift to the Democrats. It's every bill like that is a gift to the Democrats that can just point to it and say, look at what Republicans want to do. And I mean, these bills are proposed. They're not lying. Again, if I talk to normal Republicans, almost all conservatives that I've ever talked to, no one wants to restrict access to birth control. Abortion's a different story, but birth control, everyone's pretty okay with birth control. But yeah, there is this group of like super evangelical. Thank you for the word, cancel the communist. That is very anti-birth control. I thought I don't know. I was raised Mormon, and even Mormons are okay with birth control for the most part, except for the crazy Utah ones. But most Mormons I was around were like, yeah, of course, don't be a fool. Wrap your tool. Okay? Take birth control if you need it. But anyway, here we go.
And get this. He plans to create a national anti-abortion coordinator and force states to report on women's miscarriages and abortions. Simply put, they are out of their minds. And one must ask, why exactly is it that they don't trust women? Well, we trust women. We trust women.
Well, that's a mistake. I trust some people and I don't trust others. I don't like the gentrification of these things. Like, I trust men or I trust women. No, trust people. Some people you should trust, some people you don't. Men will lie to you, but women will lie to you just as much. I don't know. I think it's silly, but let's keep on.
And when Congress passes a bill to restore
There's
reproductive
freedom,
as President of the United States, I will proudly sign it into law. In this election, many other fundamental freedoms are at stake. The freedom to live safe from gun violence in our schools, communities, and places of worship. The freedom to love who you love openly and with pride.
The gun stuff is one where, look, that's I think, one of my more conservative-leaning stances is on gun control. I don't like gun control. I think that there's some good ones. I think red flag laws, pretty good. But when you start talking about anything like an assault weapons ban, things like that, I don't like it. It's not my thing. I used to. This is one of those things where, and people will ask me sometimes, like, well, when have you ever been persuaded or changed your mind? Growing up, I was very pro-gun control. I was very anti-Second Amendment. Like, in my 20s, growing up, I was very anti-Second Amendment. I did not like guns. I did not like the fact that people had the freedom to just get guns. This is something my mind has been changed on. And recently, I have switched my positions on this in the last 3, 4, 5 years, right? I have kind of gone 180 on it, actually. I think that guns are and should be a right. Even when I was in the military, I was pro-gun control, to be clear, right? This is a recent thing that I switched up. I was in the Air Force, so maybe maybe that colors it a bit. But yeah, I think the Second Amendment is based, actually. I've always been pro First Amendment. Like that's something I grew up being, right? And I've only gotten stronger in my stance there. But again, growing up, I used to be very anti-guns, and now I'm a lot different on that. I've switched my positions. I've been persuaded, gang. I've absolutely been persuaded on this. So here we are.
The freedom to breathe clean air and drink clean water and live free from the pollution that fuels the climate crisis. And the freedom that unlocks all the others, the freedom to vote. With this election, we finally have the opportunity to pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Act and the Freedom to Vote Act. And let me be clear, And let me be clear. After decades in law enforcement, I know the importance of safety and security, especially at our border. Last year, Joe and I brought together Democrats and conservative Republicans to write the strongest border.
She's whining, but I just got her a treat, okay? I just got Lola a treat, like, not 20 minutes ago. She had cheese. She loves cheese. She'll be okay. She's just, I don't know why she's so loud today. She's okay. I checked her to make sure she wasn't being hurt or nothing, or wasn't injured, or maybe something like that. But no, she's just begging for a fucking treat, okay? That's what she's doing. She wants a treat and probably another walk. I walked her twice today. I walked her in the morning. I walked her in the afternoon. She's going to get a walk after this, okay? After I'm done here, she can hold her damn horses. We got to get through these talking points. The cheese gave her gas, maybe. She needs company. She hates when I hold her in this chair. She loves being held on the couch. She loves cuddling with me in the bed. But when I hold her in this chair, for whatever reason, I think it's maybe the wires and shit around her. She gets nervous. She doesn't like it, and she tries to jump off. I don't know why. Maybe she's camera shy. But, yeah. Anyway, let's keep going.
Border bill in decades. The Border Patrol endorsed it. But Donald Trump believes a border deal would hurt his campaign. So he ordered his allies in Congress to kill the deal.
This is true, actually.
Well, I refuse to play politics with our security, and here is my pledge to you. As president, I will bring back the bipartisan border security bill that he killed, and I will sign it into law. I know we can live up to our proud heritage as a nation of immigrants and reform our broken immigration system.
Based!
We can create an earned pathway to citizenship and secure our border.
Based!
And America, we must also be steadfast in advancing our security and values abroad.
Based! Oh my God! Can we get more based? Look, I was wishy-washy before this. She had some good points. She said bad points. But bam! A couple good points in a row. She's on a roll. This is a hat trick, baby. Let's keep going.
As Vice President, I have confronted threats to our security, negotiated with foreign leaders, strengthened our alliances, and engaged with our brave troops overseas. As Commander-in-Chief, I will ensure America always has the strongest, most lethal fighting force in the world.
Hell yeah, baby! Let's go! American hegemony across the world. We are number one. USA. 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 The most lethal motherfuckers you could ever make. Look, I don't want no fair fucking fight when it comes to to getting into a rough and tumble with the U.S. military. Fair ain't nothing about it. I don't want them to have a ghost of a chance. I want, if you fuck around with America or his or her interests, if you fuck around and threaten our security, I want you to go away, okay? I want you to go away. And I want the military to be able to do that with zero or as close to zero threat to them as can be possible. I don't want a fair fight. I want the most rough and tumble lethal motherfuckers out there to do what they need to do. Based as fuck.
And I will fulfill our sacred obligation to care for our troops and their families, and I will always honor and never disparage their service and their sacrifice. I will make sure that we lead the world into
USA, USA. You hear those? Patriotism is back on the menu in the Democratic Party, boys. It's been too long, okay? It's been too long. I hated it when the Republicans had the monopoly on this patriotism stuff, right? I hated it. USA, though, oh, it's like music to my ears. Oh, baby, give me more of it. Oh, I'm going to come.
to the future on space and artificial intelligence, that America, not China, wins the competition for the 21st century, and that we strengthen, not abdicate, our global leadership. Trump, on the other hand, threatened to abandon NATO. He encouraged Putin to invade our allies.
Boo Trump! Boo Putin!
Said Russia could, quote, do whatever the hell they want. 5 days before Russia attacked Ukraine, I met with President Zelensky to warn him about Russia's plan to invade. I helped mobilize a global response, over 50 countries, to defend against Putin's aggression. And as president, I will stand strong with Ukraine and our NATO allies.
Hell to the fucking yeah, baby. See, this is what a lot of those fucking retarded lefties online are saying are, oh, this is fascism. Oh, no, this is fascism. Ooh, scary fascism. Nah, fuck off. This is what we need. This is America peak freedom, okay? You know what our number one export should be abroad? Fucking freedom, okay? That's what it should be. There is no God but God, and Lockheed Martin is his motherfucking messenger. Let's go, baby. Let's go. Let's bring some freedom to anyone who threatens it. Let's arm Ukraine to the teeth. They are balls deep right now in Russia, okay? Ukraine is balls deep in Russia, and thank God that we have contributed to that. I want to see Ukraine just fucking win, just straight out. Russia attacked them unprovoked. Russia needs to learn a lesson, and everyone watching needs to learn to the lesson that if you invade a sovereign country unilaterally with no provocation, that you get your ass handed to you. Slava Ukraine, or however they say that.
With respect to the war in Gaza, President Biden and I are working around the clock because now is the time to get a hostage deal and a ceasefire deal done. And let me be clear, I will always stand up for Israel's right to defend itself, and I will always ensure Israel has the ability to defend itself, because the people of Israel must never again face the horror that a terrorist organization called Hamas caused on October 7th.
Oh! This brings me joy, and I admit this is petty, okay? I admit this is petty. This is Whick that is not at his best, I understand. But let me be human just a moment. Though the stupid commies, right? The stupid Hamas lovers who tried to push Biden out, who succeeded to push Biden out because they were like, oh, Kamala is going to be anti-Israel. Kamala is going to throw Israel under the bus. Kamala is going to destroy those Jews. I mean Zionists, okay? She's not going to be one of them. Get fucked, losers. Kamala's always been on board about this, baby. So, a little petty, a little Schadenfreude there. But, yeah. As for supporting Israel, I'm 50-50 on that overall. But, I think supporting the right to defend themselves, I don't know if we should be getting in bed with them as much as we do. But, yeah. Let's keep going.
Including unspeakable sexual violence and the massacre of young people at a music festival. At the same time, what has happened in Gaza over the past 10 months is devastating. So many innocent lives lost. Desperate, hungry people fleeing for safety over and over again. The scale of suffering is heartbreaking. President Biden and I are working to end this war such that Israel is secure, the hostages are released, the suffering in Gaza ends, and the Palestinian people can realize their right to dignity, security, freedom, and self-determination.
This is what's been bothering me about this whole discourse, right? Or one of the things that's been bothering me. Like, people will hear that, will hear her say things that she's working to end the war, and Biden has been working to end the war, that they've been working to de-escalate the situation in Gaza, to make sure that there's a ceasefire, hostage release, that this war comes to an end. But because they don't chant death to Israel, they're seen as a Zio-occupied government is what they're called, right? By these weirdos, okay? They're seen as Israel shills and things like that, just because they don't want Israel to be wiped off the face of the earth and the men, women, and children within Israel to be put to the sword, okay? That's, right, what these Hamas-like people, right? These Hamas lovers have been wanting, right? They don't actually care about Palestinians that much. What they care about is getting rid of Israel because they see Israel as an enemy for various reasons, and it does vary. But like to act as if Biden and Harris haven't been working for this is just asinine. They've been doing a lot to try to end the suffering of the Gazan people, right, and to end the suffering of the Palestinian people. But here's the thing: the Palestinian people's suffering aren't going to end if Hamas is still in power. They aren't going to end. So when we talk about having Palestinians have the right to self-determination. Part of that process is getting rid of Hamas, is getting Hamas out of power. That is part of, not the only, but part of the process. So again, there's so much dishonesty in this discourse, right? So much dishonesty. And so everyone who is wish casting that Kamala Harris was going to get those Jews, I mean Zionists, yeah, get fucked. Let's keep going.
Necessary to defend our forces and our interests against Iran and Iran-backed terrorists. I will not cozy up to tyrants and dictators like Kim Jong-un who are rooting for Trump.
Based!
Who are rooting for Trump. Because, you know, they know he is easy to manipulate with flattery and favors. They know Trump won't hold autocrats accountable because he wants to be an autocrat himself. And as president, I will never waver in defense of America's security and ideals because in the enduring struggle between democracy and tyranny, I know where I stand and I know where the United States belongs.
Good lines.
So fellow Americans, I love our country with all my heart. Everywhere I go, in everyone I meet, I see a nation that is ready to move forward, ready for the next step in the incredible journey that is America. I see an America where we hold fast to the fearless belief that built our nation and inspired the world, that here, in this country, anything is possible, that nothing is out of reach. An America where we care for one another, look out for one another, and recognize that we have so much more in common than what separates us.
This is okay. We've been on the hype train, the love train for a while. And I like what she's saying here about uniting and not dividing. But this is something they all say. But unfortunately, how everyone behaves, right? Every one of these little talking heads, right? And look, the people who are just like, I'm team Trump or I'm team Biden/Harris. Fully 100% no, they're super certain. They don't engage, most of them. There's a few exceptions. They don't engage as if they want to unite people. They engage as if they want to just destroy the enemy. And I think that's unfortunate. I think it's, again, you talk a big game about uniting. I think what needs to happen is people need to come out against the extremes of their side, right? The people who are being the most terrible on their own side, I think that people need to come and push back against them. And we'll talk about this in a minute after the speech, right? But this is happening to an extent on Harris's side. She is pushing back against the extremists in her party. You can look at how she's been treating the pro-Palestinian people, right? And I'm not talking people who are pro-Palestine. I'm talking the pro-Palestine movement. There's a difference. They're wreckers. They're chaos agents. And, well, the DNC booted Hasan out of their press room, okay, or out of the press area in the DNC. They're pushing out the extremists. And that gives me joy, okay? That gives me hope. I really hope we continue that thing. But, yeah, that's funny.
None of us has to fail for all of us to succeed. And that in unity there is strength. You know, our opponents in this race are out there every day denigrating America, talking about how terrible everything is. Well, my mother had another lesson she used to teach. Never let anyone tell you who you are. You show them who you are. America, let us show each other and the world who we are and what we stand for. Freedom, opportunity, compassion, dignity, fairness, and endless possibilities.
Yay!
We are the heirs to the greatest democracy in the history of the world. And on behalf of our children and our grandchildren and all those who sacrificed so dearly for our freedom and liberty, We must be worthy of this moment. It is now our turn to do what generations before us have done, guided by optimism and faith, to fight for this country we love, to fight for the ideals we cherish, and to uphold the awesome responsibility that comes with the greatest privilege on earth, the privilege and pride of being an American.
Woo! America, USA! USA, USA.
Let's fight for it. Let's get out there. Let's vote for it. And together, let us write the next great chapter in the most extraordinary story ever told. Thank you. God bless you.
Yay!
United States of America. Thank you all.
There we are, kings and queens. There we are. What do you think? Okay, so overall, I give it a B+. I thought it had very strong points. Wasn't perfect. It went a little too long for my taste. Again, this is subjective. This is my tastes, okay? Solid B+. I especially at the end there, where she hammered on foreign policy, where she hammered on immigration, where she hammered on pride in the nation, patriotism, right? I think that those were her strongest moments. I didn't like the gun stuff. I didn't like the mythologizing of backstories. I didn't really like some of it just fell flat on points. But I think overall that the strong points were very strong, and I really did like it. I loved her stance on Israel-Palestine. I loved her stance on Ukraine. And I loved her stance on immigration. Yeah. What do you think? What do you think, eh? What does my audience think? What are some of my audience's thoughts here? Left, right, and center, okay? I know I'm a Democrat. What about Republicans? What did I want to prioritize Republican thought right now because I'm curious what you guys thought of that. Pan Am says, as a speech, it was good. It was a bunch of lies and warmongering. She's just as bad as any neocon. Fair enough, but you like the speech. She should have said something about Taiwan. I agree. Zero Fox says, less cringe than usual. Good links, bad embellishments. Can you elaborate on bad embellishments? I'm curious what you mean by that. Stoking the flames of war. The flames of war are lit, okay? Right? Stoking the flames of war. They're lit. We have a choice. We can hide in our homes, right? We can cower and hope that they don't touch us, that those flames of war get fanned another direction and don't hurt us. We could do that. Or we could respond to the moment and we could exercise our agency and project force and power towards our interests and the interests of our culture as well and the morality of our culture. The best parts of being an American are our freedom. And I think that helping other countries realize their freedom isn't a bad thing conceptually. There are good ways to do it and there are bad ways to do it. But I think that arming Ukraine is good. I think that projecting influence and power in the Middle East can be good. It hasn't always been good. I think that overall, American hegemony, as flawed as it is better than the idea that we would take a backseat in the world, that we would become a multipolar world instead of a unipolar world. We are heading in that direction. We are becoming a multipolar world, but I think that it's going to be worse for the world as a whole. I think that American hegemony is actually a good thing. I'm very hawkish in that regard, but yeah, that's where we are. She already bungled the Ukraine war? How so? How has she bungled the Ukraine war? I'm curious. Jimmy Beam says, now that was my argument 15 years ago and your side told me to shut up. Well, 15 years ago, we were wrong. And trust me, I wasn't saying that 15 years ago. But I do know that a lot in my party were. It was a mistake. Tyler Hall says, solid speech. I was impressed that they don't seem swayed at all by the online left. It's nice to see them insulating themselves from that influence. Oh yeah. Okay. I think let us... Are we good, by the way, on the speech? Any more comments from anyone? Only a Mr. Bill says, why don't we help African countries being overran by dictators then? Or is it just white democracies Dems care about? Only Mr. Bill, if I had my way, if I was president of the United States, we'd be fucking going in, okay? You guys would hate me. You would say, why are we getting involved in foreign wars? But we'd be going in, okay? We'd be boots on the fucking ground in some of these locations, okay? Not all of them, right? But where we can influence, I think we have a responsibility to influence. Where American force can be a force for good, I think that we should be a force for good. Now, we have to recognize there's a pragmatic reality that we have to deal with. As powerful and strong as the American military is, we cannot be everywhere, but we are designed to fight on at least two fronts, okay? We have different theaters that we can operate in simultaneously. And I think people forget just how effective and efficient the American military machine is. We have to put ourselves on a leash. We have to put ourselves on a leash. Because if we don't, if we used the full might and force of our power, and I'm not even talking nuclear armaments, I'm putting those aside. Just our conventional power in and of itself. If we went full force, there is not a nation on earth that could stand up against us. There is not a force on earth that we could stand up against us. As I said, there is no God, but Lockheed Martin is its motherfucking messenger, okay? We are, again, you guys, I don't know if you understand. I don't know if people understand just the sheer military advantages that America has, the sheer military capabilities that we have. That's based in our logistics, our intel gathering, and our ability to project force anywhere around the world at any time. Remember, we killed an Iranian general in the middle of a traffic jam, and we dropped a bomb on him that only killed him. That is how effective we are. That is how surgically precise that we can be. That is how pinpoint fucking accurate that our American military might can be. So again, right, you don't fuck with America. You, again, the only thing that will ever protect you is Americans are pretty squeamish about using the military might for good reason. We're pretty squeamish about it. And so there will be some political holding back. There will be a lot of leashes put upon ourselves, right? That's your only saving grace. But if you piss us off, we'll turn your world to glass. And we won't even have to use nukes to do it. Okay. Well, it's been fun, gang. It's been fun. Oh, what else did I have to talk about today? I think we covered the DNC. Oh, let's cover the pro-Palestinian stuff. The pro-Palestine movement stuff. So reports were said before the DNC, right? And I read these reports and I believed them, that there were going to be about 50,000 protesters. We're going to march on DNC. We're going to disrupt DNC, and it's going to be 68 all over again. Words, gang. Never happened. Words. There's a lot of people who are upset that a pro-Palestinian voice didn't get to go on stage. That they didn't let a Palestinian person go and give a speech at the DNC. The reason we don't let people from your movement come and give speeches and things like that is because you're chaos agents, you're wreckers. You guys understand that, correct? That you aren't serious actors in this. That you are people that we cannot treat with or negotiate with, because there is no negotiation with you. So why would we work with you when you won't work with us? Why would we highlight you when you won't stay on message? You won't play with us, right? You won't play the part. You won't play ball. Why? Why would we ever work with you? You're just chaos agents. You're here to cause mayhem. That is your reason d'etre, right? That's the reason you exist. The cause name changes time to time, right? But yeah, you're not here to free Palestine. You're willing to let Trump win. And regardless, Trump has let's just say Netanyahu wants Trump to win. Netanyahu wants Trump to win, okay? So what am I supposed to do with that information, right? If you're someone who believes in Palestine's right to self-determination, if you want Palestine to exist and you are willing to let Trump win, you don't. No, you're a fucking liar. You're a fucking liar. And you're lying to yourself. That blood is going to be on your hands, buddy. Metaphorical person who's probably not listening to my channel right now because they all hate me because I didn't shout death to Israel 1,000 times. Look, Israel aren't the good guys. They're not good guys. They're not doing great. But come on. You guys are crazy. You guys are crazy. So, let's review. RFK Jr. dropped out, endorses Trump. Will that have a major impact on the race? It's neck and neck, boys. It's neck and neck. We have a 50-50 race for the most part, right? Pretty much. Will that tilt the scales in Republicans' favor and Trump's favor? I actually don't know. I think that it's going to be a wash. I think the gains that will happen from that are going to be washed out by the DNC's, the post-convention bump. I don't think we're going to see a major shift, at least in the next week or two. I don't think that's going to happen. That's my guess. But it's a guess. Keep in mind, I'm making a guess. I could barely be wrong. I wouldn't bet money on it either way. But I think it's going to be a wash if you ask my instinct on this. So there's that. The DNC pushing out its extremists, booting Hasan, doubling down on the military, doubling down on immigration control, doubling down on Israel-Palestine, based as fuck. That's why I'm a Democrat, boys. Okay. And yeah. And people on the right and left are being shitty to each other, and they should stop. That's the show, gang. That's what I wanted to give you today. Any thoughts? Have I been getting DMs from people? A few. I think we're going to end for tonight. We got some great shows next week. I'm going to probably do next week, I'm going to try to get a panel of undecideds, uncommitted, or people who are voting third party. And if you're someone who fits that category, you're not voting for Biden or Harris, you're not voting for Trump, you don't either don't know who you're going to vote for, like you're legit undecided, or you're voting third party, like you're voting for Jill Stein or something. If that's you, please reach out. I want to put a panel together of that, and I want to kind of pick your brains to figure out your thought processes. I want to talk to you. I want to talk to you. So I want to put together a panel like that and kind of figure out that mindset a little bit. Is Jill Stein actually running again? I think she is. I'm pretty sure. So yeah, I want to put together a panel like that next week. I want to talk about that. Did you guys like the State of the Race panel I did on Wednesday? Did you enjoy that? Do you thought that was fun? I liked it personally, but I don't know if you guys did, right? I got mixed reviews. So if you liked that, I might do another one here soon. So yeah, and I'm going to do a culture content. I want to do call-ins next week. I guess I was invited to talk about Alien Romulus. So I'm going to go on someone's show and talk about that. Other than that, I've got a slot open. So if you've got a good idea for a panel or a show, I have a slot open. So if you have any ideas of what to talk about, send me a DM. My DMs are open. Gang, if you've enjoyed this content, if you've enjoyed the show, if you liked Solo Wick, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Send me some super chats, throw me some follows on Twitter or Twitch. If you're watching me on one of those platforms, subs, super chats, bits, all these things help the channel grow. If you haven't liked the stream yet, why haven't you? Like that stream. Who is streaming right now, actually? Who are we rating into? Let's go. We did I'm Really Important yesterday. I don't want to do that twice in a day. You know what? I don't see anyone really streaming that I want to rate into, honestly. Let's go to Sansol. Sansol's live. Raid Sansol. Okay, remember to tell them this is a hate raid. I'll see you guys on Monday. We'll do something. And with that, peace out, Girl Scouts.